Deep in the Indian mountains, hidden away in a dense forest covered in mist and tall grass, there is a deserted village where nobody dares to live anymore. It is called Lambi Dahar. On one side of this settlement stood a small row of modest houses. On the other side there were large dormitories. The entire village was surrounded by tall mountains and deep valleys. For those who lived here, these mountains promised protection, peace, and beauty. But what went on inside those mountains would soon bring nothing but death and suffering to the people who made their home in Lambi Dahar. Underneath the mountain range that surrounded the village was a rich deposit of zinc ore. During the early 1990s, India's economy was falling apart. To make up for this, the government invested heavily in mining operations. This led to the establishment of several mines across India. People were encouraged to move to these mines and work as laborers. Most of these mines were located in remote regions with little medical facilities and no emergency services. Wages were low and working conditions were terrible. Despite all of this, thousands of people moved to these mines. They believed that any job was better than no job. In 1992, one such mine was opened in Lambi Dahar, which is why many people had to build their homes there. Life seemed to be good at first. People had jobs and could earn enough to survive. It looked like the village of Lambi Dahar was going to be a great success. But before long, things took a turn for the worst. A few weeks after the mine was established, the workers started getting sick. Their lungs burned and they coughed up blood. There wasn't a doctor around to tell them what was wrong. So the sick continued to work. Soon more people started to get sick, then even more until hundreds of people were barely alive. Still, work continued. By the end of the year, over 50,000 people had been killed by the mine. Now, if this seems like a lot, consider that Lambi Dahar wasn't even a big mining town. At its peak, the population didn't exceed 75,000. So in just a few months, almost two-thirds of everyone living in the town died. This tragedy led to the closure of the mine, but something dark had already spread through the town. There were so many bodies that couldn't be identified. Instead of burying them, the corpses were just thrown into the mines. Then the mine entrance was sealed with cement. After this, the survivors left the town to look for work elsewhere. Those who stayed behind were met with strange phenomena. They said that whenever night fell, they heard the crying of a woman echoing through the mountain. This woman was said to be the wife of a mine supervisor. One day, she watched her husband and son get buried alive in a landslide. Since then, she roams the mountainside searching for her family and calling out to them. Many also believe she isn't a ghost, but a curse. After all, the death of her family was only a tiny part of the massive loss of life that occurred in Lambi Dahar, trapped forever between the living and the dead. Others believe that the souls of the dead are still trapped inside the mines. In fact, stories of terrifying apparitions are commonplace. Visitors say that if you hike to the top of the mountain overlooking Lambi Dahar, you might see a woman standing on the edge. She wears white and often stands next to a British man. If you reach out to touch her, your hand will go right through her spectral form. If you are brave enough to approach her and speak, she will turn around. Her face will be pale and covered in blood. She will stare at you for a few seconds and then disappear. It gets worse. Hikers who climb the ridge also report a growing sense of dread, sometimes feeling as if they are being watched. Other times, they hear voices whispering in their ears, but when they look around, there is nobody to be seen. At night, things get even scarier. Some visitors have claimed that they were attacked by invisible forces while sleeping in tents near the mine. They felt themselves being choked and clawed at, and their tents were torn to shreds. Others have witnessed strange lights rising from the mine shafts like torches carried by unseen hands. These encounters have even led to tragedies. In 2008, a young woman named Alkar was hiking with her boyfriend when she noticed a faint light coming from the mine. She told her boyfriend that she wanted to investigate. However, as she approached the opening, the light disappeared. She decided to keep walking. Moments later, the ground beneath her collapsed, sending her tumbling into the depths. When her boyfriend rushed to the edge, he saw her body lying motionless at the bottom. When he leaned over, he noticed that her eyes were wide open, staring blankly ahead. She was immediately taken to the hospital where doctors pronounced her dead. Was this tragic accident simply a terrible coincidence, or was it the vengeful spirit of Lambi Dahar claiming another soul? What happened to the people of Lambi Dahar is a sad reality. It happened in the Indian state of Uttarakhand, where the town of Lambi Dahar is still located today. Unfortunately, incidents like this weren't uncommon during the 1990s. The Indian government made several mistakes when trying to revive its economy, and many of these had fatal consequences for innocent citizens. Lambi Dahar was one of these disasters. When the mine was established, there were no safety guidelines, adequate ventilation, or medical staff to help workers who fell ill. Despite this, work continued as normal and countless lives were lost. While the Indian government quickly realized the extent of the damage, it was too late. The damage had already been done. Entire families were wiped out, leaving children without parents and wives without husbands. Survivors who escaped with their lives were left traumatized, never forgetting the cries of their loved ones echoing through the mountains. Even though the mine is now closed, the scars remain. Not only are there hundreds of unidentified graves near the mine entrance, but the surviving townspeople believe that the spirits of their lost loved ones are still trapped inside. Is there anything we can do to help them? Well, maybe. Stories of hauntings are common all over the world, but many believers claim that ghosts aren't malevolent. Instead, they are simply lost souls who need help moving on. Perhaps this is true for the people of Lambi Dahar, though we can never know what it's like to be trapped between the worlds of the living and the dead. We can try our best to help these souls find peace. Some believe that holding a funeral for these lost souls can help move them on. This is especially true when the deceased haven't been properly identified. Imagine being stuck in limbo without knowing who you are or how you died. It would be terrifying. Holding funerals for victims may sound like a simple gesture, but for those who have lost their lives without any ceremony, it could be the difference between peace and eternal torment. Maybe this is why the locals of Lambi Dahar ask visitors to bring pictures of loved ones who have passed away. By holding joint funerals, both the visitors and the locals can lay their loved ones to rest and help guide their souls towards the light. As for the mysterious woman in white, some believe that she is a single mother looking for a child. If this is true, perhaps she won't rest until she is reunited with her son. The woman may not be a curse but a grieving mother. Maybe the only way to help her is to find her lost child and allow her to finally move on. This might be easier said than done. After all, there are hundreds of unidentified bodies buried in the mine. How can she be brought peace without knowing where her son is laid to rest? This mystery adds another layer of sadness to the story. If the rumors are true, there may be dozens of parents searching for their children, all lost in the chaos of the deadly mine collapse. Maybe that's why so many people feel a sense of dread when visiting Lambi Dahar. It's not the ghost of a curse, but the lingering grief of a dozen heart-wrenching goodbyes. So next time you hear about a mysterious ghost, think twice before you dismiss the story. It could be the last thing you do.